What does the future look like? Can we look to any current example for inspiration? We need to look no further. Our future has already played out. Unless we change course, this is what we have to look forward to. Welcome to South Africa.
But for several years now, the black community isn't the only one to live in such deprivation.
So we have a community of what? Just some poor dumb whites? Well, no.
Not long ago, the 300 residents of this township were perfectly integrated into society.
Well, you ain't gonna believe it. I'm a qualified cabinet maker. And I went to a firm. Their words to me was, "Sorry, Mr. Kutsia, you are white."
There's skilled tradesmen and ex-professionals all living in this ghetto. These people, maybe just a couple of decades ago, they would be living a prestigious middle-class life. But white people prospering isn't allowed because of our historical and systemic guilt we must hold as a burden. And the only way to reconcile for this guilt is that these people must live in abject poverty for the rest of their lives. And that's an underlying theme of this video right here. We need to pay attention to the language being used by the anti-white South African government. Because the exact same language has been used in places like the UK, where white people, especially in government and civil service roles, they are being actively discriminated against because of their race.
In this country where benefits are practically non-existent, the downfall is brutal. The couple live in this corrugated iron house with a clay floor and struggle to have enough to eat.
I mean, this looks incredibly bleak. This is what happens when you are discriminated against and there's no welfare safety net. You're just exposed to the elements. So what can you really do? This really is the definition of being an outcast and why charity of your own kind is so important. No one else is going to look after these people. They are on the brink. But it isn't enough. These people are not humiliated enough. They have not repented for the sins of their ancestors. And here's the catch. They never will.
But usually I can feed about 50 to 100 rice and then with the little bit of meat and sauce. A luxury for them. They don't eat meat every day.
So how do the local black communists view this desperate group relying on charity in order to give them one hot meal a day?
These men and women, who have come from a neighbouring shanty town, are members of a radical political party, the Economic Freedom Fighters. It's a movement whose aim is to give back the country's riches to black people. They say they have come in peace.
You know, maybe I did jump too far ahead. Maybe I am just prejudiced. Maybe I need to rethink my worldview. I mean, they come in peace and they want to spread love of one nation, one people, equality for all.
That means we are one. Despite the color, the blood is one, and then we should take care of one another.
You know, I think I'm going to cry. That was just so beautiful. I wonder what's going to happen next. And if that made you cry, do the thing an algorithm likes, please. We hit 10,000 subscribers in 1 year. Maybe 100,000 next year. We've got to dream big.
During this stirring speech, other members of the group take advantage of the distraction and steal some of the food.
They just came in here and took the poor people's food. You saw, we all saw it, he saw it. They are the ones that are previously disadvantaged, so it is owed to them. And we have to do restitution.
And he said it's the same as us. We are one blood, so we're all the same together.
You are an international journalist, my darling. He'll say that.
I mean, come on. I think we would all be a bit disappointed if the African communists didn't act this way. And as I said, I was beginning to think my worldview. I'm glad they reminded me of exactly what they are. And this small instance, this initial instance, which is laid out at the very beginning of this documentary, it's a microcosm of what is happening on a much wider scale at a national level across South Africa.
People of colour were forced out of city centres and penned into huge ghettos. They were seen as lower-class citizens who didn't have the right to vote or the right to move freely in the country. This regime lasted until the start of the 90s.
Now, my historical knowledge on South Africa is not perfect, it is somewhat limited, but I do know a few things. I do know that the Africans, the black Africans, the majority of them are from the Bantu ethnic group. They did not originate from South Africa, or, at the very least, they did not originate from what the South African boundary is, the nation as it exists, or even the landmass of which South Africa makes up of now. Black Africans are simply not native to this particular part of Africa. When the Europeans arrived, there was no country, no infrastructure, and there was a very tiny population that was actually existing there. And when the narrator says they were treated like second-class citizens, yes, they were. Because they were. That was the whole deal. That was the point. And then the narrator says they were moved out of the cities into the slums. They didn't create the cities, so those who did make the cities, they wanted them as far away as possible. And today, when you look across cities across the United States and Europe, just name me one particular area, anywhere, in which it's majority non-white, that looks in any way livable. Or somewhere where you wouldn't be nervous, like dropping your gran off by herself. It's, when you think about it that way, it really makes you think on a more instinctual level of that this is not a normal situation to be in.
It has one of the highest crime rates in the world. In the city of Cape Town alone, there's an average of 7 murders a day. And no one is safe.
And that's the irony of this documentary. South Africa and many of the cities in South Africa have been some of the most dangerous in the world now. And the narrator notes this as a fact, but because apartheid is one of the universal evils we almost recognise, it's never suggested, nor can it be because of how the documentary's been framed, that apartheid was keeping everything in check, in order, and now it becomes a free-for-all. It's a complete Wild West. And I think this is what we have coming for us in the UK. If we relinquish the institutions to those who hate the native population, who hate the native culture, and the underlying philosophy is one of radical revolution. And so when that inevitably fails to bring upon the utopia of which it tries to promote, do you think you as a white native Brit, or native South African, or native American, white European American, they have to blame someone for why civilization is collapsing, and they can't look in the mirror?
This state of social distress is fueled by extremists who incite hatred between communities.
If they want to be reckoned as civilized people, then they should act like civilized people.
And it's very funny when they talk about, radical, hateful extremists, when really it's just white people who, they don't want to take over the country or hurt anyone, they just want to be left alone. And this comes right after the clip that we just saw of the black communists stealing food from the poor white people. Are these people really that radical and that hateful that they don't want to live around this?
A huge ghetto created in the 60s with apartheid in full swing. The authorities pushed all non-whites out of the city centre and crowded them into these buildings built specifically for this purpose. Drug trafficking takes place on every street corner, in broad daylight, where everyone can see. As night falls, to avoid being ambushed, the police officers use several patrol vehicles. But this doesn't stop them from being threatened or intimidated. In this area, belonging to a gang is so normal that no one hides, not even from the police.
This part of the documentary is just showing you this place is pure chaos, not like a high crime area. It is chaos. There's a big difference.
Alerted by cries, Randall and his colleagues spring into action. This woman's house has been occupied by gang members.
They use our property to come and smoke, to come and put their drugs, to come and put their firearms. And she doesn't ever say, because they gang members. Some people are scared of them.
I'm sure you've heard arguments from these retarded anarchist types who say things like, Hey man, we just want to live in a commune where nobody owns anything. Your house is my house and let's all share the same car. We can take turns. Well, the real result of any sort of civilization, especially a multicultural civilization that tries to profess that, a land with no laws, or at least laws that, are enforced. The end result of that attitude is a bunch of Africans smoking crack in your living room and there's nothing you can do about it. This clip right here should be the only thing you need in your inventory to use against anyone who promotes any kind of anarchism.
Randall and his colleagues are under no illusion. Their role is often limited to occupying the area. It's a feeling of powerlessness in these neglected areas where the culture of violence is ingrained from a very young age. In an attempt to stamp it out, several times a week, the police officers carry out prevention work in schools around the area. The youngest children are only 6 years old. At this age, they've just about learned to read and count.
They are so young to know already drugs.
Yes.
But they know already.
Yes. And I asked them how they use the drugs. They know the equipment, everything they know.
Do you think during apartheid they would need to take kids outside of their normal learning experience to teach them about crystal meth? I mean, it's just a thought.
As these recent images show, the settling of scores between gangs in their areas takes place even in broad daylight, right between the buildings, in clear view of very young children. Around here, you have to learn how to survive at a very young age.
I mean, this is literally Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is an apt comparison, because Africans who are native to Africa and Africans who descend from slaves in the United States, why do they all behave the same way? Why does their behaviour, I mean, it must be their culture. I mean, the NWA, they can't keep getting away with this.
The country still suffers from huge inequalities between black people and white people, particularly in the world of work. 70% of management positions are still held by white people, although they only make up 5% of the population.
This is literally the only reason that the lights are still on. And this guy within the documentary at the beginning, I didn't really cover that, it wasn't particularly interesting. He moved in the late 90s when everyone was leaving. So what does this guy do? Well, all he does is make anti-white propaganda. And then we'll look at how he has adapted to the the hiring laws in South Africa.
As for the inspiration, he has plenty of source material, racial tensions.
To another episode of Racism Bingo. Hooray!
Like this game where white people stack up prejudiced slurs about black people.
I hope you're hungry.
Oh, I could eat a horse.
You people don't actually do that, right?
No.
In the workplace, on the other hand, there are no jokes about skin color. Thierry Cassuto has to adhere to a very restrictive law, positive discrimination.
For the American viewers, positive discrimination is your version of affirmative action. It's the same thing. But positive discrimination, I like that. It has a kind of Orwellian doublespeak to it. Like, discrimination is very bad. But what about positive discrimination, where it's only white people who get discriminated against because of their race? I mean, sign me up. That sounds amazing.
KK, his partner, keeps a close eye on the statistics.
In your board, you have to have black board members with voting rights. You get 2 points. Black female board members with voting rights, 1 point. Black executive directors, 2 points. Black female executive directors.
This point system is no trivial game. The less virtuous company bosses risk heavy sanctions, fines of up to 10% of the business's turnover, and they could even be sentenced to up to 10 years in prison.
You will hire Shaniqua or face prison. It sounds insane, but that's literally how it works, and we see these exact same policies mirrored across the West. I used to work for a company, and during a meeting with my manager and the wider team, maybe it was like 15 of us, they were all talking about the business goals and all the kind of company bullshit. No one really cares to hear about it. It's just more of a, what's happening above our heads, but it doesn't affect our day-to-day. And one thing mentioned was that the CEO is celebrating that the company has an additional intake of minority employees, an increase of 10% or 15%, I forget the exact number, of hired people that year were of the BAME community, which in the UK is just an expression to say non-white, non-native. And not only that, it was disclosed that the CEO got like a six-figure salary for accomplishing this amazing feat of hiring more diversity. And so I thought the company I'm working for, it's now celebrating it's hiring less white people, and the CEO gets a bonus for it. We don't seem so different to South Africa, do we?
Ce que j'essaye de faire, c'est de recruter les gens les plus compétents et à compétence égale, j'aurais tendance à donner le poste à quelqu'un qui a été plutôt défavorisé.
Quelqu'un qui est noir en fait.
Non blanc déjà, parce qu'il y a toutes les nuances de noir, c'est métis, c'est indien, c'est aussi chinois, c'est non blanc.
So white people can't be disadvantaged? Can I direct you to the very start of this documentary? This business deserves to fail. I want it to fail.
Although black people remain largely discriminated against, this law has allowed a minority amongst them to reach the middle class.
Is this two separate documentaries stuck together? One moment it's talking about all the policy enshrined in law to discriminate against whites, and then it follows up by saying it's the black people who are actually being discriminated against.
Just 70 cents. His earnings are meagre. Adrian refuses to beg. For him, it's a question of dignity.
So a man who is selling junk, barely making enough to feed his family, won't take charity out of honour. But hordes of black communists will steal food from his community. It really makes you think, are we the same?
Can you see, that's when I was working for Shaft Sinkers. Here's my net.
20,945 rand a month.
1,500 euros per month. It's a reasonable salary in South Africa, and Adrian is reputed in his field.
The stoper for the year, the best miner for the year.
Again, another capable white man cast aside. Do you think he's angry or bitter against the system that put him in this situation? Well, he might be a bit disappointed of what his take actually is.
However, Adrian feels no resentment.
It's difficult for us to go to find the work now because of they rather choose the black maybe. They do that because to give the blacks also opportunity, like they gave the whites.
Do you think
to do that?
Do you think it's good?
I will say yes. It's actually good. They give them a chance also.
I mean, that's pathetic. That's absolutely pathetic. I am sympathetic to his situation. It does look brutal. But even when all is taken from you, all he thinks is some sort of cosmic karmic justice, that he deserves this because of, again, he is propagandized so hard that he's almost content living in an absolute slum, abject poverty because of the mind virus he suffers from. Hearing this guy say the handing off of his civilization, his birthright, he thinks that's just the way things are, and that's a good thing. It is. Again, it's just so sad. But anyways, let's check in on the black communists. Let's see how they're getting on.
The man embodying the hopes of this young generation fills stadiums. Julius Malema, a charismatic leader, gets the crowd going. First inspired by Marxism, the movement's focus has now shifted. Its ideology is based on discrimination against white people. He's not afraid of calling upon his followers to take the land by force. Rather ironically, he encourages the crowd to kiss white farmers, finishing his performance with an explicit gesture: the firing of a gun.
This is all very important to cover, but I'll just kind of summarize it because it does go on for a bit here. They want to get rid of the white people and they will kill them if necessary. I mean, it's as simple as that. But there's something very telling about this documentary. Kiss the farmer. I mean, take a listen. Why does this documentary try so hard to obfuscate the motives of the black communists, or at the very least, try to not make it seem as bad?
Julius Malema has been summoned to court for inciting public violence. He risks being sentenced to up to 10 years in prison, but he appears rather calm. His trial has been ongoing for 3 years already. This time, as before, the case is adjourned. This leader is so popular that no judge seems to dare to sentence him.
I mean, obviously he is untouchable. Just remember what happened in 2021 when Zuma was arrested. I think he was a former president or prime minister. I mean, what happened? It was a real anarchy broke out. And this, in my mind, it really peeled back, it really exposed the reality of South Africa. And it's really just parallel to what happens in the West. I mean, check out these videos. They mirror the same situation across 3 continents. It's a chimp out epidemic, and we've not seen the end of it.
In their songs, Do Koom, a famous rap group, make hateful statements, and their threats are clear. This clip shows the kidnapping of white men. In another, they encourage the burning of farms. Within the black community, this extremely violent rhetoric remains marginal. But in this country on the brink of implosion, there's sometimes a fine line between words and actions.
Well, I mean, this is a great point. It's not as if black rappers in the West make songs about killing white people, do they? I mean, if you're not aware as well, being a white farmer in South Africa, I think per capita, is one of the most dangerous jobs in the whole world because of the murder rate. And it's not as if they're just being burgled, robbed, assaulted, or slapped around a little bit. What they're subjected to is pure barbarism. I mean, let's just play a little bit of this just to kind of paint a picture of what goes on.
And I found them lying there, tied together, next to each other.
Right here, tied together?
Yeah, they were tied. My dad was lying on his back. My mother was lying face down, hands tied behind her back. My dad had a big gaping hole like the size of a golf ball in his throat. There was a pool of blood here all over.
And then I started getting Facebook messages and WhatsApp messages telling me that from different people that how sorry they are to hear about everything that happened. And so I started to panic, and I called my aunt back, and she told me just my 2 grandparents are murdered. And so I came here, and when I got here they told me my parents as well.
In February, armed robbers stormed this farmhouse and opened fire. Estelle Nieuwenhuizen's partner was shot repeatedly at close range.
I was shot 2 times there. One there, one here, and the other one went in here. And it went out of the back of my neck.
And these examples are not anecdotal. This is what happens 50 times, 100 times a year. It is absolutely savage.
Criminals are much more organized here. That's why we need these things to protect ourselves, you see?
Even this ex-serviceman, who has served in Iraq and Angola, is shocked by this onslaught of hatred.
Savage, brutal, cut up, burned, mutilated. I don't think it happens in war. I've been in war before. I've never seen it in a war.
This is fascinating. This guy, veteran of wars, several conflicts, and even he is shocked about what he sees. But guys, remember, it's the black people who are disadvantaged. You know, even though their ancestors never set foot in what is South Africa today, it's their country. Even though they've not really added any value or built anything of importance, it's theirs, guys. Anyways, let's go check out the Boers, the base pro-apartheid chuds.
Protected by armed men, Andre Beitenbach is the leader of this movement. His aim is to create an independent state where no black people are allowed.
The white people in this country, they do not do it. If the train is late, we do not put the train to fire. And if the buses are late, we don't put the buses on fire. That's one of the main differences between us and the black people in South Africa. The way they behave. And it's not us that have to change our attitude. They have to change their behavior. If they want to be reckoned as civilized people, then they should act like civilized people.
And he's not content with simply speaking about his views during meetings like this. Along with other Afrikaners, he has already built the state he's dreamed of.
He is right, and ironically, is this not what the black communists, is this not what they want? You know, he wants whites to go away. Well, no, because when they do separate and they prove that they can create a civilization out of nothing, I believe it has to be stopped out of pure bitterness. And in a way, I think they know deep down, without these people, the country's going to collapse. Openly racist rhetoric, I mean maybe, but is it true? The narrator didn't call them a liar. And the last part here seems to go into just the white-only communities within South Africa, which I might go into at a later date, but I think we'll just stop it for there. But when watching this, while South Africa is a very extreme example, There are so many different strands of concern that run parallel to the UK and the West in general. That's all I could really think when watching this. If you want to know how bad things can get, I mean, of what the future could be, this is it. And notice I said could be. This isn't a guarantee. But if we do continue along the same path of which we're on, then the reality of this is a lot closer than you think. But guys, I hope you thought this video was insightful. Do the thing the algorithm likes, really appreciate it. Until next time, not sure what we're going to cover next, but I'm sure it's going to be good.